Hello and welcome to the Rask Network. What you're about to hear and see is limited to general financial information only. Please be sure to speak to your financial planner or refer to our financial services guide available at rask.com.au/FSG before acting on the information. Kate Campbell, welcome to this monumentous episode of the Australian Fine Arts Podcast. How you doing?
I am doing very well, Owen. There's a few things to update everyone with today.
Yes, there is indeed. In this episode, as the headline suggests, you're going to share 6 lessons with us. And they're going to be lessons accumulated over 6 years. And they're pretty big lessons. So I'm interested to hear those, and as will listeners. But before we get to that, Kate, I do have some notes here in another little thing that I'm running with. People may not know that you and I first met over Twitter.
Back in 2018.
Twitter.
Before Elon got involved. I met this strange guy on Twitter when I was running a different finance podcast that I started in 2017. And back at the start of 2018, we met up for a coffee near my last workplace, and the Australian Finance Podcast was born maybe 8 months later.
Yes. And that the weird guy was not me, it was some other dude, but we can forget about that. But there was a bit of a fateful pub-related incident in here where we went, a mutual friend who we've spoken about before, had on the show, Bronwyn, shout out, B, Miss Moneybox.
Who's since become a doctor.
A doctor, yeah. She's become a doctor. You've since become an author. Wow. Most recently, you finished your JD, Juris Doctor.
So that doesn't give you the doctor title, but postgrad law course. So I've been slowly doing that over the last 5 years, running the finance podcast.
Yeah. You went to Europe, lost your phone, if I'm not mistaken. Is that what happened? Or you dropped it or something happened?
Yeah. It went somewhere and it stopped working. It's a bit embarrassing.
There was a moment there where we were recording a 4-way podcast. We've done these a few times. We did one with Equity Mates, and there was you, me, Ran and Bryce from Equity Mates. And in the middle of all that, there was an earthquake in Victoria. And I don't know who said it. We could dig it up from the archives, but one of us was like, "Can you feel that?" And the other one was like, "Yeah." And those two guys were like, "What are you guys talking about?" And you're like, "Oh my God, the world is shaking." And then this is where things got really interesting. Some journalist took that footage.
I think Monique had a hand in this.
Took that footage, and then we ended up on like Channel 7 or Channel 9 News that night with a snippet of the Australian Finance Podcast.
It goes to show they had very little footage because we were all locked down and in our houses of the earthquake experience.
The earthquake experience. What a fateful day that was for the Australian Finance Podcast.
And we kept going with the podcast all through the various lockdowns. That was a lot of fun. Yes,
we did. And you obviously became a public speaker for many different reasons, not just with us, but some of the stuff you're doing yourself. Like I said, you wrote the book. That was a good experience. You did that while studying. That's pretty big.
We've launched quite a few courses, which has been a lot of fun. The Financial Independence course, which really pulled together my interest in the FIRE movement. So that is still free on Rask, and I've actually just updated it this month. So all the links should be working, fingers crossed. The internet's a fun place. My career course, we did an automation course with Perla. We did 6 Rask road trip courses with Tash, taking you through everything that you need to know about your finances. We did a budgeting cash flow course with James, one of the financial advisors who appears on the podcast. I think that's we did a course with Queenie, an investing course with Queenie. Yep. We did Get Started Investing course with Equity Mates. So we've launched quite a few courses.
Yeah. It's been a lot.
Yeah.
And you've interviewed some great people on the podcast as well. Like a lot of good authors, speakers.
Interviewed Morgan
Housel from Psychology of Money, ATO commissioners, like really well-established business people, all different types of people. It's been a blast.
I think it goes to show just saying yes and trying new things, because at the end of 2018, over the summer holidays when we slowly put together our very first 10 episodes, we had no idea what this podcast would turn into. And it's just been amazing getting to talk to people all over Australia over the last 6 years, go on the road show and talk to everyone live at our events in our community and just really be a part of everyone's finance journey. I mean, that is very special.
Yeah, it is. So what happened? So some logistics and technology changes happened in the middle of starting the Australian Finance Podcast. And today we switched a bit of our technology around. And so we don't have exact numbers, but I estimate that the Australian Finance Podcast has been downloaded or viewed, like when I say viewed, it's like YouTube, 15 million times, which is stupendous. And then and that's 2 logo changes in that time. We started as pink, then we went to a sky blue, then like multiple changes. Then we went to the main one, which was present for a long time, which is actually a photo of you, if I'm not mistaken, holding a coffee, but we cropped the coffee out.
Yep.
And we just put the photo of you.
We get very creative in Canva.
Yeah. And now we've got the new brand entirely. And some of our most popular episodes have been around helping people get started investing, the basics of ETFs, careers, all different types of stuff. There's been a lot that's happened in that time. And kudos to you. Through all that, you still studied, you bought a house. There's been a real lot of positive stuff. It's probably over 32,000 students through the courses now, which is massive. And it's all in all, it's been fun.
It's been a wild ride. So I think I probably should say it officially, but I am leaving Rask and leaving the Australian Finance Podcast. I've had an amazing 6 years and I'm up for a new challenge. I'm wanting to go and explore new directions. That sounds weird. It sounds like a glee, but yes.
You are though, but it's
new challenges, new adventures, and it's been an amazing ride. And that's why I wanted to sort of pull all of the lessons together to share with you today.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and to say the least, and the impact that you've had on a lot of people, myself, right through the team, all the way to every single listener across the world. It's been incredible. And I think for you personally, as a friend, as someone that's seen you grow up, like a lot of the people don't know, probably I won't give it away, but how young you are and how much you've accomplished in that time is just truly remarkable. Everyone's like, what? And so kudos, respect. It goes without saying, but I think you are ready for a challenge, and I think that you've put all the kind of the ducks in a row, and you're ready to take the leap to whatever comes next for you, and utilize your JD, or move into law, or move into something adjacent to that, or just something new entirely. So it's exciting, and I can't wait to hear about what you do next. But without further ado, let's share some lessons. You've had a bit of time to think about these lessons now because you've known for a long time. So where do we begin?
The very first lesson that I want to leave everyone with is that talking about money is really important, with the caveat that not everyone's going to talk about or want to discuss, learn, interact with money in the same way that you do. And that is what I've seen over the last sort of 8 years having finance conversations on How to Money and the Australian Finance Podcast, is just the importance of opening up this can of worms with people, because for so long, our grandparents, parents, our generation, we've been told explicitly or just through social conditioning that money isn't something we should talk about. We shouldn't discuss our salaries. We shouldn't talk about where we're investing. We shouldn't talk about what financial decisions we're making. And if we keep all of that hidden, it really limits conversations, it limits options, it limits possibilities. And I just really encourage everyone that when you feel comfortable, and even a little bit before that, when it's a little bit nerve-wracking, start to gently have conversations with your partner, your parents, your friends, and your family about money. And you don't need to go straight into, what does your investment portfolio look like? You might just say, what are you saving up for? What is the craziest way you've saved money. Just get excited, get curious, and start having these conversations, because there's a huge amount of power in opening up both your eyes and the eyes of people around you to what is possible with your finances. Because so many people we've spoken to over the years go, it wasn't until I listened to the podcast that I knew that super was my money and I could actually do something with it. I didn't know that investing was possible. My parents told me that investing was gambling and it was very unsafe to do. My parents told me that property was the only option. I was told by my friends I shouldn't talk about money or various things. And so we get these ideas in our head. And if we don't have the conversations about money, we don't know what's possible. So that's my number one thing, is talk about money.
Now, as a big reader with a library yourself, a few Billy shelves from IKEA, I'm sure, lay in that house of yours. There is a Harry Potter reference in here that she's put in her notes. Kate's always had meticulous notes. I've always encouraged her throughout the last 6 to 7 years to always publish your notes. But sometimes she keeps them to herself. And this is a reference that you made in here, so I'm going to bring this up. And tell me where this is from, everyone. Fear of a name only increases fear of the thing itself, end quote.
So a little bit of a Harry Potter reference there, but there is a lot of emotions we feel about money. We feel shame, we feel fear, we feel guilt. We feel like we don't have enough, or we should have more, or we're behind, or we can't share what we have because we've received something that our friends haven't. So I think the more we talk about it, the more we can open up those emotions and not hold them to ourselves. Because if we are feeling really shameful about the financial position we're in, it's hard to take action and it's hard to think more positively about the future. So just know talking about it does start to decrease those feelings and open up feelings of optimism for the future and for what you can build for yourself and your family. And even just talking to a financial advisor. If you're feeling really shameful about your finances, that might be a really hard step to make. So you might need to start having conversations before you feel comfortable to talk to someone else.
Like that. Amazing. Investing in your future is about more than just money.
This is probably something I've thought about a lot more over the last few years and really pulled it together when I wrote Buying Happiness, because we can spend so much time thinking about the numbers and getting stuck in the spreadsheet, calculating our perfect investment portfolio. I mean, that's what I did at the very beginning when I discovered the financial independence retire early community. It was all about optimization, the perfect plan to reach FIRE by 40 and saving as much as I could. But over time and through experience, talking to people, really broadening my own horizons through listening to podcasts from experts around the world, reading, and just being really curious, it's brought me back to the fact that it's so much more important to invest in our relationships, invest in our education, our career, our health, our happiness, all of these other things as well. And so sometimes when we just get super focused on the money, we can forget about these other really essential parts of our life. And it's a hard balance, and it's never easy to balance it all. I don't think it's possible to have a perfect balance between all of these different areas at once. There's always going to be some give and take, because we only have a finite amount of time in a day. We only have a finite amount of money coming in at the end of the day. So we have to make trade-offs and we have to reprioritize. So one year we might focus more on our financial goals because we're saving hard for a holiday or a house. And the next year it might be the year that we actually buy the house and we're getting lots of new things and really in that phase of life. But if you just keep thinking about what are my priorities, what are my values, what am I trading off at this particular time, but just never let that baseline of thinking about your health, your friendships, your relationships go.
I've seen that actually in you over time. We were talking earlier today about how in like a few years ago, I think you were just like everything finance. Like if we go 5 years ago, you were just like obsessed with just learning more about this topic, which is, I think, a key ingredient for people to become excellent and amazing people in their profession, is like a beginning obsession. And you definitely had that, but I've seen you evolve in more recent years to consider way more, whether it's the psychology of money, the stuff like you've spoken over the last year a lot, or 18 months with Evan, about like the kind of behavioral elements behind it all. And all of those things considered, like that shift has been really interesting to see. And which again reminds me that of why it's really important for you to now take the next leap and find that next curiosity that you want to go to. So lesson 3 is your personal finances are just that, personal.
Yes. A lot of the finance content you'll see in Australia and overseas, a lot of the books you read, a lot of the people you talk to will tell you this is how you should do things, or this is the best way to invest, or this is the best way to set up your savings accounts or your goals or your automation, or you should save for this and not invest in this. But at the end of the day, you have to do what works for you. And a lot of this is either their personal experience, they're working for a property fund, they're doing this, they're doing that. They think this is right for you because of X, Y, Z. But you need to really think about, well, what is right for me? What is right for my family? What is right for my financial future? Because it's very easy for us to say, okay, yeah, your emergency fund, maybe it should be 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. So if you lose your job, you've got a period of flexibility before you need to worry about your finances. But at the end of the day, if 12 months is something that's going to make you sleep better at night, if having 12 months of cash put aside is going to help you invest and help you go out every day and do awesome stuff with your career and spend time with your family, then do that. Like at the end of the day, you just need to pick the option that works for you. And I would recommend keeping it simple. I haven't included that on the list, but it's something that I've talked about more and more over the recent years is, yes, there are so many different options of things you could do with your finances. And there's always going to be more and more options available because you can make businesses out of it. But keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to have a complex tax strategy with accounts overseas. Sometimes, and with finance, I've definitely seen it's the case, simple is the best strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. What works for you may not work for me. Lesson 4, stop looking at what everyone else is doing, which is similar.
Yes. Social media can become quite dangerous, I think, with our finances because we're seeing everyone's highlight reel. We're seeing what everyone else is apparently doing with their finances. And it makes us think, well, I'm the same age as them, or I'm a few years older. Why don't I have this much money saved? Why am I not in Europe this year? Why don't I have this big house? And the thing is, it is a highlights reel. You also don't see if people have worked 3 jobs. You don't see if they've gotten $100,000 from their parents. You don't see if they worked at a startup and got equity and the company went public and suddenly they've got an extra heap of money that way. You don't see the sacrifices they've made. You don't see the advantages they've had. You don't see so much of that stuff. And I think it can become really dangerous when we just look at everybody else around us and it starts making us miserable because we feel like, hey, I'm 25 years old. Why don't I have anything in my investment account? Why don't I have anything saved? Hey, I'm 40 and I haven't started investing yet. My life's over. You really need to just come back to focusing on your own journey because spending too much time looking at everybody else, I think is quite harmful for us long term because usually you'd only have, back before social media, you're comparing yourself to your community and your family and your friends. You didn't have a world of options to compare yourself to. So I think if we can bring it back a little bit more focused on our own journey and our own goals, that would be really helpful long term because otherwise you get in that trap of never having enough because there's always going to be someone with more than you and there's always going to be someone with less than you. So I think, yeah, social media can really harm your financial goals if you're not careful.
Yeah, and your mental health as well. So it's just one of those things, isn't it, where once you know yourself better, you'll probably do better with money because you'll be able to use it. If only someone wrote a book called Buying Happiness. I think that's what the world needs. Yeah,
there's probably the other point that I had in my notes that I didn't mention is sometimes if you see everyone else ahead of you, it can make you feel like you're never going to get ahead and you're powerless. There is also a growing amount of content on social that's basically you're never going to get ahead. The rich are rich and you're just going to stay where you are. And if you consume too much of that content, I acknowledge there's a lot of systemic challenges that we've got to tackle. But as an individual, if you consistently consume content that's saying you're never going to be able to buy a house, you're going to live in your parents' basement forever. It's not going to really encourage you to push yourself forward. So if that's kind of the echo chamber that you're in, I'd encourage you to get out in the world, meet new people, meet people who encourage you to aim a little bit higher.
I remember when we sat at our Melbourne event, a big one a few years ago, and you were on stage with, I think it was Tash, Queenie, and Jess Ricky from Choosing the Money, the four of you, and Matt from Aussie Firebug was your host. And we asked for questions in the room, and there's hundreds of people in this room, and a lovely lady picks up the mic and starts to say how, it's an all-female panel, and tried to make, some connection that, it's, women up here, blah, 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 blah. And you instantly shut it down. In front of hundreds of people, there was a live stream running. You were like, I don't buy that. I'm paraphrasing you. You go, I don't buy that. I've watched my mum do it, my grandma do it. I'm doing it. I'm not letting that attitude change what I do with my money and with what I think I can do. And I think that was like, I remember looking up at the stage because I was like running around in the back. I remember looking up at the stage being like, whoa, like there's Kate up on stage. One of the first times you were up on stage in front of hundreds of people, like thousands online. And you're just like, no, here's what I think. I can do it just like anyone else can. I can do it and I'm doing it and that's good.
Yeah. And there's always going to be a reason why something is harder for you than someone else. And there's so many valid reasons. But if you only focus on what you're lacking, I think that makes it really hard to progress with your finances because you don't see what's possible. You're not focused on the future. You're not focused on moving one step ahead. And I know many of the panels back in sort of 2018, 19, 20, when we did panels about financial independence, because that was such a popular topic at the time and a lot of the events were focused on that topic, people would say, but what if you have X, Y, Z? That probably means you're not going to be able to reach financial independence. But I kept coming back to, well, having some financial goals and starting to invest and looking at my super, even if I don't reach financial independence by 40 or whatever the goal is, I'm going to be in such a better financial position having made some positive changes. Like I might not get to this crazy audacious goal by 40, but I'm still going to be in a better position financially. I'm going to know how to budget. I'm going to know how to negotiate my salary. I'm going to have an investment portfolio and maybe I don't get there, but I'm going to be in a much better position than if I sit here and do nothing and feel completely powerless.
Lesson number 5 is something that's related to that, which is write down your investment plan and the reason for making each purchase. Why is this important?
When I started investing at 18, I would not call what I was doing investing because I was just opening a brokerage account, mucking around with $500, buying some things, selling some things, no rhyme or reason. I knew nothing about the company. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just stuffing around, really. And luckily, I only played around with $500, so I didn't lose too much money. But over the years, I've realized that if I slow down and I write down what I'm doing before I just go in and make an investment or sell an investment or change my strategy, it really slows me down and makes me think more methodically about what I'm doing. So instead of just going, oh, I saw this company or ETF mentioned in the financial review today, I'm going to buy that. It sounds really cool. I actually slow down now and go, okay, why am I changing my investment plan? Why am I investing in this? Is there anything more to it than just I read something in the news today about it? And actually over the years, I've really slowed down what I'm doing with my investments, so much so that in the last few years, I've not invested in anything new. I've just continued to invest in my existing strategy of ETFs and funds and things like that. So I just continuously automate my investments and add a little bit each month in my current portfolio. I'm not consistently changing things anymore. And by slowing down, having a plan written down, we've said on the past, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be one A4 document where you go, this is what I'm investing in. This is my time frame. This is my goal. This is why I'm invested. So I've got that anchor when things feel tricky, that if anything catches your eye in the headlines or you feel nervous or you read something about the US going crazy, you come back to this piece of paper and go, why am I changing? I think this will be even more important over the coming years as more and more investment products come to market, as brokers start introducing new features, because there's always going to be more shiny things. And if you've got a plan, if you know the basics, if you keep things simple, you can keep coming back to that and try not to get too distracted by the new exciting products on the market.
Yeah. It's one of those things where just in the last, since we've been doing this, right, we're really early on the adoption of ETFs.
Yeah. We've seen so many just companies come, companies go, new ETFs come to market.
There's been new ETFs. There's been new companies that have come and gone. Afterpay, as an example, that wasn't really a thing when we started the show. And now it came and it went. People came and went.
Yeah. A lot of fintechs came and went. I remember talking to all the neobanks back in 2019, 2020. Quite a few of them have gone or been sucked up by another company.
But your investment plan can evolve and it can stay the same, and it can, there's things about it where you can use the change to your advantage for sure. Number 6, the 6th lesson from 6 years is at some point, you just have to do the thing.
Yes. At some point, you have to close that gap between learning about doing something, whether it's learning about sorting your super, learning about saving up for a holiday, learning about investing, and actually do the thing. And so many of us can get caught in that middle space where we're learning. We think we need to know more. We think we need a perfect plan, and we never actually take action. And we've spoken to so many people over the years that are still spending multiple years trying to choose a broker. That means they're not investing. We've spent time talking to people who are still trying to sort out their super, but they haven't quite made the switch. They're thinking about seeing a financial advisor for years, but they haven't quite done it. And the thing is, it's not always fun to sort out your finances. There's a lot of bits that I still don't like. I don't like doing my tax return, and it takes a bit of cajoling to convince myself to sit down and pull all my documents together. But the only way you can make a positive difference to your financial future is if you do the thing. So whatever it takes, as small a step as you need to take, whether it's just, I'm going to invest $5 this month, just do something. And that's how you build your confidence. It's how you build your confidence with everything, because so many people think they should just know about investing, and if they don't, they've done something wrong or it's not for them. But it's something that we all learn. No one's born knowing innately how to invest. It's something we all just have to figure out. Yes, some of us get taught by our parents, we get taught at school, we get taught through our friends' conversations. And for some of us, we've never heard of the word investing before. We've only heard it in the connotation of something bad or losing money or gambling. And we might not have had our parents to talk to about money, and we might not have a social circle, but these things can be overcome. You don't have to be good at money. You don't have to be good at maths to start investing. I've spoken to so many people who think they need to be good at maths to start investing, and that's so not true. I mean, I don't know the last time I've had to do anything maths related. There's compound interest calculators, there's tax calculators. Everything can be done by a professional, or it can be done by a calculator, or it can be done without any maths involved, really.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. So one small step is what you would say.
Yes. Just make it so small it sounds ridiculous. That's what a writing coach told me once, that you need to make the task so small that you're laughing and going, that's a stupid goal. Just taking one step is such a silly goal that it just seems pointless to set. But actually, that gets you going. And for me, when I started running, it was just I had to put on the runners and leave the house every day. I didn't put a target around it. And that actually really helped me at the beginning because I was so scared of doing the thing. So whether it's today, I'm going to open a micro investing app like Raise and I'm going to invest $5. And don't worry about 10 steps ahead of you, because often we jump from 0 to 100. We go, okay, I don't know anything about super, but I'm going to just do the whole thing today. And then we log into our account and we see there's 10 different options and we see there's insurances and we get overwhelmed and we just stick our head in the sand and leave it. And then 10 years passes by. So I'd really just step it back as much as possible and find the smallest step you can do. Find your login to your super account. And that's the first step. And then you pick the next small step to make. But just find a way to do the thing.
Love it. Kate, what a ride. What a ride it's been. It's been wonderful to be part of that and to see you grow. So on behalf of everyone from the Rask community, the Australian Finance Podcast, everyone that's learned something from you and benefited from being around you, I just want to say thank you and all the best and good luck with the next adventure.
Yes, I'm very excited, and it's been fantastic running the podcast from your rabbit tiny spare bedroom where we started doing it back at Jan 2019 to now where we have our own studio. It's been an amazing ride, and it's just been phenomenal to meet all of our listeners around the country, to hear everyone's questions and experiences, and the people that brought us up their very first dividend statement from their investments. That was really exciting.
Yeah. What a start. What a story and what a ride. Well, thanks for joining me.
All the best with the podcast, Owen.
Thanks for watching this video on the Rask Network. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get videos each and every day on business, finance, investing, and so much more.